Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. Wanted to do this video showing you 10 records that took me years and years to find. A lot of these records took me like 10 years to find. So just stuff, most of these are really rare records, rare titles that if you're just a casual music listener, you might not have ever heard of these, but I highly recommend all of them. These are some of my favorite records in the world. You know, as I've gone through and collected, you know, all the things like the Zeppelin and Beatles and Pink Floyd and stuff like that, and I've gotten everything I've needed. There's all these really obscure albums that kind of slipped through the cracks over the years that I'm still on the lookout for a lot of records that I've never seen. So here are 10 records that I searched for many, many years and finally victoriously found them. A different viewpoint on this episode. You kind of see my wall behind me. This is my wall of stuff at the house. My system's back here, you can see that. But this is just kind of like my trophy wall, my favorite records that I'm proudest to own. So these change a little bit, but it's a lot of the same stuff just because these are some of my absolute favorites. I have records that are worth more that aren't on the wall, and I have records on the wall that are worth a ton, but the worth point is not really the draw for what goes on the wall. It's how excited that record makes me. So like I said, sometimes I'll pull one off to put another one on, and those decisions are getting hard to make. But I'm gonna go through and show you the ones that have just taken me forever to find and was thrilled when I actually found them. So the first one, I'd have to say that I was after, this was probably maybe 2009. You know, I'd heard about some things like, you know, Randy Holden, he's coming up on the list, he's over here, was like the first obscure record I ever really looked for. But as I'd look through, like YouTube was a big help for me. Like I'd find one really obscure album and stream it, and then it would recommend another one and recommend another one. And so that one takes a lot of people down the rabbit hole. But this is one that I heard that absolutely blew me away. I remember the first moment I started listening to it, I was pumping gas. And I remember, like, I had my headphones in and I clicked it, and I was like, this is cool. And this is Toad. Absolutely brilliant record. But when the first time I remember pushing play on it, you know, by the time I was done pumping gas, I was hooked, you know. It's one of those records, it's just mind-blowing. I was like, I've absolutely got to find this record somewhere. And through the years, I went on eBay several times trying to get them, and it just way out of my price range at the time. I mean, back then I wasn't spending more than I wouldn't spend more than $20 on a record. I wouldn't, you know. And so I could never get one. I mean, even back then the reissues really hard to find. I think the reissues, I'm not sure if they're bootlegs or not, but this is a tough record that's not gotten a lot of reissues. This is an original 1971 press from Switzerland. The band is Swiss. So I always kind of subscribe to the follow the flag rule of collecting. I've had a bunch of different pressings of this in the past, just through the years finding copies eventually. And this is the one I tried to stick with just because they're from Switzerland. It's Swiss pressing, 1971 on the Hallelujah label. I've had German pressings, Italian pressings, all that. But if you like that early 70s rock and roll, this is just really good, mind-blowing rock and roll. Great guitar work. You know, if you like stuff like Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, this record Toad has been just incredible. I love this record, and it's still a regular listen for me. This next one is Lee Moses, Time and Place. I heard this one a while back. It got reissued, and I picked up the reissue, and it's just this incredible. I feel like if you mix together Jimi Hendrix and Otis Redding, that's what this sounds like. Like one of the most incredible vocally like male soul records that I own. It's just incredible. The music is funky. He does a cover of Hey Joe on here that is incredible. He plays a guitar and it's just so good. It's just so soulful, so moving, and it's just one that it's impossible to find. It's on this Maple label, but I looked for this for probably, I don't know, 7 years or something, and then a friend of mine had one, and I'd never even seen one before, and they usually come up in really bad shape when they do come up online. And so, you know, I really try to get VG Plus or better on everything. And a friend of mine had a nice one, and I was like, man, if you ever get rid of that, please, please, please hooked me up, and maybe a couple years later, he texted me. He's like, "Hey man, I'm letting it go," and he gave me a great deal on it. Really good buddy of mine, Christian. If you're watching, I appreciate you, man. But this is just one that was it was at the very top of my list for like probably 3 years. It was #1 on my list, and finally scratched it off. But if you like that type of thing, like just really good soulful, funky, but also has like a psychedelic electric feel to some of the tracks. Lee Moses, Time and Place, 1971. There's lots of really good reissues out there that are widely available. That's a great one I would highly recommend. Next one, there's a little bit of a story to it, and if you watch my videos, you've heard me tell it, but this record, Blue Cheer, New Improved, great record. I found it in my late teens and absolutely adored it. I remember getting the record home, putting it on, and the A-side was pretty good. I was like, all right, this is really good. The B-side blew my freaking mind. I was like, what in the world? It's, you know, it's got the same feel, but the B-side's just so guitar heavy, just incredible. Really mind-blowing stuff on the B-side. And I was like, huh, what's going on with this? And then I noticed that all of them said Randy Holden. So all 3 of those songs was written by Randy Holden. And that was when I really first had started looking at like who was writing songs and who was playing on the tracks and all that stuff. I was like, Randy Holden, who the heck is this? And I started like doing research and all that stuff, and he had a record called The Other Half, and I was looking for that. And then I heard tale of a record called Population 2 that nobody had ever, there was debate. You know, we had the internet in my late teens, and there wasn't a whole lot of info on it, and there was kind of debate over whether it really existed or not. Like, some people said some copies had gotten out. Some people said that the only copies that were out were actually bootlegs. And I actually got the opportunity to interview Randy Holden years later for my podcast that I had. And he said that he didn't think that any real copies existed. He never saw any. So it's a long story. If you want to listen to the podcast, you could probably find just type in Noble Records Randy Holden interview and you'll find it. But yeah, so I knew at that point that there was. I had known people that had found them, but there's allegedly only 88 copies in the world. So for 10 years, every record store I went into, I would say, hey, have you seen Randy Holden Population 2? 9 times out of 10, they had no idea what I was talking about. They're like, I don't know who that is, whatever. And so it was just one of those really obscure things that I thought like only I knew what it was and only I was looking for it. But as you know, the years have gone by, I realized like there's a lot of people that know what this is, and the internet has helped those people kind of communicate, and these copies get resurfaced. So I have had a few copies, but Randy Holden Population 2, I finally got one. I think I got a copy like 5 or 6 years ago. This kid had sent me a message on Instagram. He said, hey, I found one in a thrift store. And I was like, really? He sent me pictures. It looked legit. It's got a drill hole right here. It was like kind of one of these discount bin type situations. And the drill hole's all the way through, and it's through the label and everything. That's how they all are. All the originals are that way. And I was like, man, that's cool. And so his had like really bad ring wear on it. I mean, it was really bad. And so I was thrilled to have a copy. And then maybe a couple years after that, a buddy of mine that had been a collector for a really long time was like, hey, and I'm letting it go. Do you want it? So this is the one I ended up with. It's in really nice shape. The vinyl is super clean on it. But anyways, I mean, I know you might see this and say that's not in great shape, but for Population 2, this is the nicest one I've ever found. You know, it's got a little bit of the ding dong on the cover there and down here, but the disc is really clean and the ring wear is not that bad. So I'm really happy with this. At some point, I'll find like a perfect copy, but this has just been one of those lifelong records that this is probably the record I look for the longest and can never find. And to finally find one was great. And if you guys know, we did an exclusive release of, we worked with Rod and Easy Records. I hooked Randy up with Rod and Easy to get it reissued officially. It's the first official reissue that there had ever been. This was in like 2020. So we do a lot of store exclusives, like exclusive color vinyl stuff, and I'll talk about that later. But the first exclusive was actually Randy Holden Population 2 we did on yellow vinyl. And so I have a very deep history with that record. Like I said, if you watch my videos, you've probably heard me talk about it, but that is just one record it took me an eternity to find. All right, the next one is, and if you guys know me, you would know that this is gonna be on my list, Farm. If you look back, I had One of my first videos that really took off was like my top 10 most wanted records. And this one, I think a lot of these records are probably on that list. I'll have to look back and see, but.
Number 1, Grail, on the all-time most wanted records list is Farm from 1971.
This one was one that just eluded me forever. I mean, I wanted one so bad. And it was another one that I had only ever known one other guy to find a copy. And I'd wanted it for just about as long as Toad and Randy Holden. It's just, it always slipped through my fingers. Like I'd heard of a few copies selling, but I was a little bit too late here or there. And just at one point I was like, man, I just would really like to know if anybody has this record, because it is so rare, and I just didn't know anybody who even owned one. And I thought maybe if I could find somebody that owned one, I could convince them to selling it to me. And so this was, man, maybe probably 2018 or 19. A friend of mine is like, hey, a buddy of mine owns a record store and he owns one. He found one in a collection, but he doesn't want to sell it. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And so I talked to the guy. I was like, hey, if you ever sell this record, let me know. And he's like, I'm never going to sell it. It's not going to happen. I've just always wanted it. And I said, okay. I said, well, if you ever sell it, this is what I would offer you for it. I gave him a very strong offer just because it had been so many years. Like I said, I never even knew of anybody who had one. And he was like, oh, okay. So I was like, if you, this is the reason why I hardly ever talk about numbers on the channel, is that if I tell you the price, first of all, half of you guys are gonna think you paid too much. Half of you guys are gonna say you paid too little. And then everybody's gonna say, oh, you're cheapening the music to a number amount. And I partially agree with that. So beyond the music, it was just that I wanted this record so bad, and I had listened to it for so long. At this time, there was no reissue of it. It was extremely hard to find. And the only way I could listen to it was to listen to it on YouTube. So I really wanted a copy. So I gave him a very strong offer for it. And he was like, man, that is hard to turn down. You know, we both have small businesses. We both get it. And so he accepted my offer. He was extremely generous with me. Very, very nice guy. And his record store is called America's Groove. Shout out to him. He's a really cool guy. And so I got the record, and it's just been one of those that it's been a regular spin for me. Even now, we have done several exclusives of this record. If you go on my website now, we did. It's one of those that has been in such high demand over the years. The first exclusive we did was on yellow vinyl, solid yellow. Then we did one on like transparent yellow. Then we did one on solid gold. And now we have one that's on, it's called Voodoo vinyl. It's like orange and black splatter, or like marbled vinyl. So that's still on our website as of this video going out, but we don't have a lot of those left. So if you want to hear this record, it's like early 70s rural rock. It sounds a lot like the Allman Brothers. That's the biggest comparison I could give to it, but just fantastic guitar work on it. The songs are just very well written, very well arranged, incredible musicianship. For a private press record, for a band that did not go the distance, this is top tier, in my opinion. I mean, very well recorded. It's a tremendous record. So I highly recommend it. If you're looking for a copy, we have some on our website right now. Farm, highly recommended. The next one is the Stark Reality. I talked about this in one of my recent videos. I haven't talked about this record too much over the past few years, but this is such a huge record for like DJs and the whole, 90s DJ circuit, people sampling stuff. This is the Stark Reality discovers Hoagy Carmichael's music shop. So Hoagy Carmichael, I found 78s sometimes that are Hoagy Carmichael 78s. He was a television personality back in like the, 30s, 40s, 50s. And his son wanted to put out kind of a reinterpretation of this Hoagy Carmichael's music shop. This was a children's program, and he wanted to come out with a soundtrack that was like more hip with the times, late 60s, early 70s. And so he got together a group of incredible musicians, like jazz, funk, and psychedelic musicians, to create this soundtrack. It is such an enjoyable listen. I love it. My kids love it. John Abercrombie plays guitar on it. It's just fantastic. Some tracks are really funky. Some of them are really psychedelic, experimental, incredible guitar work. I mean, the guitar on here, this fuzz guitar, so cool. And also some of the songs are just like kid songs, you know, but they're funky and they're good. I know this sounds really weird if you're not into collecting strange things, but this is, it's a double LP. It's one of those that every serious record collector that doesn't have it, it's on their want list. It's just so hard to find. And through the years, it's another one that I almost owned several times. I've had friends that have had them that have tried to trade them to me, but they always want like crazy stuff, so I never was able to get it. And so finally, a couple years ago, I ended up scoring this copy. It's a beautiful copy. But yeah, Stark Reality discovers Hoagie Carmichael's Music Shop. It's on Ahmad Jamal's label. It's just a really, really, really cool record. I highly recommend listening to this. It has had some reissues as well, so it's available, and I believe you can stream it. So yeah, that's a great one. If you guys like this really rare rock that wasn't on the radio, you can't find it anywhere, if you're kind of tired of just the regular stuff that you've heard on the radio your whole life, our label, we have a record label just called Noble Record Label, where we reissue these really hard to find records that are really expensive that you would never be able to find originals of. But we want to reissue them in a high quality format that you guys can enjoy and not spend thousands of dollars. So this is the one that we just reissued. This is Yezda Urfa Boris. This is a really rare prog record. Originals go over $2,000. We did a all analog reissue straight from the master tapes. This is on our website now. We're really proud of this record. It's incredible quality. We also did this Dry Water. This is a hard rock record from North Carolina. If you like just that classic rock sound, this is a classic rock record that should have made it, that never did. Incredible record. That one's also on our label and also on the website. This is a garage rock record. If you like The Litter, when you like these really great garage bands, this is a garage rock one from North Carolina. Absolutely unfindable record, extremely rare. We reissued this and it sounds fantastic. It's on our website. And then we also did this George Brigman Jungle Rot. If you collect this rare stuff, you probably know this record. It's a cult classic. The originals are over $1,000, extremely rare. But if you like stuff like the Stooges, the Groundhogs, stuff like that, this is a really killer one. It's also on our website. We have a few different color versions of that. And then I spoke in this video about Farm. This is the Farm exclusive that we have available on the website right now. We're running very low on these, but this is the color on them. Very, very cool, beautiful stuff. So check out the website. In addition to those, we have dozens more of just really hard to find, rare, classic rock, hard rock records that you'd never be able to find originals of, that we've tried to work with other labels and sometimes just our own label to put out affordable versions of that. So check out the website, Noblerecordstore.com. I'll put a link in the description of this video and pin a link in the comments. Check it out. Thank you guys for supporting us. The next one is The Litter, Distortions. This is a garage rock record from Minneapolis, 1967. Tremendous one. The way I heard about this record, I was listening to like a podcast, and this was in 2000, I think it was like 2013. I was listening to a podcast, and this guy was walking around a record show asking people, like, what's the record that you're looking for the most? And several of them said The Litter, Distortions. And so I was like, man, what is that? And immediately, looked it up, and I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. At the time, I was working at a glass factory, swing shifts overnight, and I just had that thing going in my ears 24/7. I loved listening to this record. It's such a killer garage record. Really, really great. The songs are catchy, they're great, but they're also really more raw, and it's got a little more teeth than most garage rock does. And so it was really appealing to me. I immediately bought the reissue. There's some very cool reissues of it, but the original was always on my want list. So this is a record, if you know anybody from that area, people find them regularly for cheap, but I just can never get one. And so I've had a couple copies now, but this is the cleanest one I've ever been able to find, and it's just an all-around killer, hard to find, incredible garage rock. Probably my favorite garage rock record. 1967, The Litter, Distortions. The Litter had a couple other really great albums too, but this one's just, it sticks with you. Hey, I'm just going to get you from the water a little bit here. All right, this is the one you guys are going to know is going to be on the list if you follow me. This is Fraction Moonblood, and I know people are going to be like, did you slab it? This is not slabbed. This is a very cool, like, thick, it's not a sleeve, it's a, I think it's a case. But I got some of these, you could open them very easily like that, but just like a protective case. For some of my more rare prized albums, I like to keep them in these. I've only got like, I think I've only got like 20 of these cases, but the ones that are like my massive ones that are expensive and rare and irreplaceable, I have in these. So this is Fraction Moonblood. You know, if you know us, we did an exclusive of this. It's sold out by now, but fantastic record. Again, I mean, I don't want to be repetitive because I know a lot of you guys have heard me talk about this record nonstop for years, but it was one that I heard probably, you know, when I was in my early 20s, and I heard it and I was just like, man, that is unearthly. It's unbelievable. It's this it's a record that I always say sounds like a mixture between The Doors and Black Sabbath, and it really does. It's just so brutal. Every second of this record I love. And I got the opportunity a few years ago. I had been working really hard in the shop. If you don't know my story, like I opened this store in 2019. I didn't have any money. I had $1,000 to my name when I opened the shop. I took all my records from my collection. I put it in the shop. I only saved a few hundred records that I kept in my collection, and I was like, I'll get more records later, but like this is for my family. Like I got to do something. Sold almost everything I had. Sold a lot of my guitars, all that stuff to get the shop open, and we'd never really gotten to the point to where we were doing okay. Like it was just. We opened in October 2019, and then we had to shut down for 2020 for a few months, and it was just really, really rough. And then I think it was like 2021 maybe. Things were starting to pick up. You know, the vinyl boom had happened, and I never actually really splurged on anything, you know, and I didn't really have splurge money, you know. And like one day, like we had bought a really good collection. I worked my butt off. We put it out in the shop. It went really well. And then that day, I got home and I was just feeling great. And somebody had posted one of these on eBay. And the price was very, very good. And I was like, wait, what? So I reached out to the guy and I was like, hey, you know, what's the story? He's like, I found this thing at a yard sale for $2. He said he thought it was the Doors LA Woman because of the sleeve. He just thought it was like a different version of it or something. I don't know. Anyways, and he's like, never heard of the record. I don't know anything about records. It just was like $2, so I bought it. And so I talked him down a little bit, and he agreed to it. He sent it in the mail, and it took forever to get there. It got lost at one point. Anyways, all that, I finally got it. I actually made a whole video about getting the record. It was really cool. And yeah, it's just one of those records I've just been in love with. It's a desert island album. I mean, it just gets me pumped up. I never get tired of it. It's just incredible. But they only made 200 copies of this. It's extremely rare. And probably one of the most valuable records in my collection. It's just incredible. When I got it at a really good time, and I got it from somebody who paid $2 for it, so they didn't really, you know, they knew that they weren't going to shoot for the moon. This isn't the perfect copy, but it's in really good shape. The disc is really clean, and you know, I've heard of copies going for $12,000. That's the most I've heard one going for, but you know, I think on Discogs a few have gone for like $6,000, you know, so it's really hard to find. I didn't pay anywhere near that for it. I got a really good deal on it. But anyways, yeah, that's just a fantastic one, and it had to be on the list because it just took me forever to find it. And this was kind of the first record I really was like, all right, I've worked really hard. I want to buy some really cool records back since I've sacrificed everything for the shop. And I kind of went all in and bought this record, and it has appreciated in value since then, and I'm proud to own it. I'll never sell it unless I were to find like a perfect one. I probably would sell this one, but yeah, it's one that'll stick with me forever. The next one is Josephus. This is one, I had reissues of it over the years, but it's just early 70s brutal hard rock. I mean, look at that cover. Great band. They had a couple records. This one's a lot harder to find than the self-titled, but it's just one. It has been in some like TV shows and stuff like that. This Crazy Man track is really good, and it's been licensed out to some TV shows and stuff. But it's just really good. The early 70s hard rock that I enjoy and I collect. It's like the main thing I collect in my collection. And it's, I think, among the best in that genre. really good. Another one that I started listening to, I got a reissue. I got a questionable reissue. I think it was some sort of bootleg or something back probably 15 years ago, and it was just one of those mythical records that I never thought I'd ever see one. And a few years ago, I was able to grab one. Maybe a couple years ago, I was able to get an original, and it's just been one that's just blowing my socks off every time I throw it on. It's incredible. And actually, after this video, I got to throw this on. It's too good. Next on the list is July from 1968. In my opinion, this is maybe the greatest psych record to ever exist. This is another one early on when I was searching for things to get me out of my comfort zone in music and exploring psychedelic music. This is just the one psychedelic record that just really grabbed me. I remember anytime anybody would say, hey, what do you listen to? I'm like, July 1968, you need to look for this record. You need to find it, you need to stream it. So many people that would ask me about music, I would recommend this record over and over again. I loved it. I had a reissue for years, and it was just kind of the pinnacle to get an original. And a lot of these rare records, you can't buy them. You know, other collectors will trade you for them, but you can't buy them. You want to find something else that's equally hard to look for, because you almost can't put a number on the hours it takes to find something, if that makes sense. So if this is a really hard record to find, you want to also trade it for something else that's really hard to find, because you can't put a monetary value on the hours you're going to spend looking for it, if that makes sense. So anyways, that's how I got the record. So, but it's a fantastic one, just smoldering guitar, incredible stuff. This is not my end-all be-all copy. Now, this is a super clean US press, but I would like to get the UK. The UK one's worth a lot more, and it's a lot harder to find. It's on the major minor label. That one is mega grail. I would love to have that one day. So that's kind of, I probably will make a video like this in the future, 10 years down the road, that will probably be me upgrading this one to that one. But I'm thrilled to have an original press. This is an incredible record. Another one that I won't spend too much time on, because I've talked about this in too many videos anyways. This is the Led Zeppelin Turquoise. A lot of you guys probably know what this is. Led Zeppelin is my all-time favorite band. I've collected them religiously since I was a kid. And this is always one that I would read about in books and all that stuff, and I just thought I'd never get. A couple years maybe before I opened the shop, I had the opportunity to buy one. I got a good deal on it, and I got it. And at the time, it was the most I'd ever spent on a record, I think. And actually traded a bunch of stuff for it. And when I opened the shop, I just couldn't afford to keep it. You know, it was one of those things that every dollar mattered. And so I sold it to a very good friend of mine. Actually, the same guy I got the July from, I sold it to him and gave him a decent deal on it. He gave me good money for it, and it really helped me open my shop. So then I had to go back to looking for another one. So years went by. I think 2 years ago, I ended up getting this one for a really good deal. But yeah, the turquoise letter, it's just, this was the very first UK pressing. And when it came back, and they had already, some people say only 1,000 copies got out. Some people say 2,000 copies got out, but a very low number, you know, in comparison to how many copies got pressed, went out with this blue lettering on it. And the band just didn't like it. They wanted something that looked a little bit more brutal. And so they went for that burnt orange color. And so these are legendarily really tough to find, really rare. And so it being my favorite band of all time, I had to get it. So anyways, that's just 10. There's a lot of these records behind me that I looked for years and years and years, but these are the really ones that are near and dear to my heart that are really important. Tell me in the comments, what record have you been looking for years, whether you've found it or not. I'd love to hear about the stuff that you guys have been looking for. I love to stay in contact with the community. It's why we do these videos. So thank y'all for watching. We'll see you guys next time.